So anyhow, Netherflix and the Devil Mouse. Of course, what I'm talking about is the recent kerfluffle about Netflix attempting to push a spin on the cheerleader movie, but instead of cheerleading, it's a twerking contest, and instead of high school, it is 11-year-old girls. Now, for those of you who are not sufficiently up on the terminology of the vibrant inner city community, twerking is a synonym for take the dick. In fact, that's what the dance is intended, such as it is intended to simulate. And in fact, that is a term that is used synonymously for the term twerking. So, what you have is a movie which is R-rated and is devoted to 11-year-old girls learning how to take the dick. Needless to say, this is straight up pedophilia. And equally needless to say to those who are sufficiently aware of the evils of the Hellmouth, this is what the other side is all about. Everything that they do is fundamentally about sexually molesting children. Okay? All the rights that you've heard about, from the gay rights, the lesbian rights, all that stuff, this is what it is all focused on. This is what it is all about. One of the things that you learn when you study history is that over time, again and again and again and again, the common people learn that the self-appointed elites are fundamentally evil on a level that they had not hitherto believed possible. And there's all kinds of allegories, there's all kinds of lessons. Even in our own popular culture, there's plenty of warnings. Over and over and over again, there are warnings. Why do you think that Jesus went out of his way to point out that the worst people were those who preyed upon the children? And he didn't do that by accident. He did it because that is the fundamental goal of the wicked. The same way that Jesus says we need to be like little children because the innocence of children is pure. The innocence of children is something that God values. And because of that, the wicked hate it and want to prey upon it and pervert it above all else. More than money, more than fame, more than, hot chicks, etc., etc. And so, a lot of people have said, what's the difference between sin and wickedness? What's the difference between evil and wickedness? Well, evil is fundamentally about failing to do God's will, setting yourself, choosing to pursue your way rather than God's way. And we all do it. Everybody sins. Everybody is fallen. Everyone falls short of the glory of God. Okay? But there's a difference between sin and wickedness. God doesn't hate sinners. God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten Son to deliver us from evil. But it also says very clearly, repeatedly in the Bible, God hates the wicked. Who are the wicked? The wicked are those who set themselves up deliberately, knowingly, and purposefully against God. And the wicked glory in trying to offend God. They glory in attempting to destroy those who serve God and those who potentially might serve God. And so, of course, they prey above all on the children. That's why if you look at their objectives, whether it's the public schools, whether it's Head Start, whether it's pushing women into the workforce, whether it's splitting up families, all of these things are fundamentally designed to allow the wicked to have more access with less oversight to as many children as possible. They're all about devouring innocence and harming and abusing children. And that's why I think that they're so freaked out and upset about Q. I think that's why you're seeing just grotesquely wicked things like drag queen reading hour in libraries. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that God is going to judge with fire. Okay? I mean, Republicans and Christians, they like to talk about how the United States is a uniquely blessed nation. God bless America. All this sort of stuff. Well, guess what? God is going to judge America, and God is going to judge America harshly. Because the wickedness that the United States and other Western countries have not only accepted, not only permitted, but are actually endorsing is the kind of stuff that is literally what was called an abomination before God. And so, the consequences are coming. When you look at abortion, when you look at the whole gay rights movement, when you look at all of this stuff, and it's getting worse. It's getting so bad that people who are of the left, people who are not on God's side but are also not completely wicked, they're fleeing it. They're fleeing it from LA. They're fleeing from New York because these are the centers of wickedness in the United States. It's not the only place that's wicked. There's certainly no shortage of that, in Europe, in England, and so forth. But the hellmouth, the center, is in the United States. And so, the cultural infection, the source of it is in the United States. The source of it is in Hollywood. That's why I call it the hellmouth. And it's really interesting when you watch certain movies, when you watch certain television shows, you actually see the confessions of people who are you see the confessions of people who are exposed to it. Maybe they're not completely wrapped up in it. Maybe they're not a part of it. Maybe they're even horrified by it. But it's really interesting. Space Bunny and I watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel back in the day, and we don't watch a lot of new television or movies or that sort of thing. But for whatever reason, we started watching the whole series again from the beginning, and it's really intriguing to see it with the eyes of 20 years or whatever it is, additional experience and a greater understanding of the world. Because what's kind of fascinating is that especially in the show Angel, it's practically an open documentary of what's actually going on in Los Angeles. Right down to the the wicked hiding behind their lawyers, hiding behind money, and preying on the children. And the signs are all around you, and it's not new. You look at it's fascinating, and I think that this is one reason why there's so much historical revisionism, because the reason that the wicked seek to hide history is because the same thing has happened over and over and over and over again. They get discovered and they get rooted out. And people say, oh, well, it's this, that, it's the Jews, it's whatever. And, but it's not just that. It can be that, but it's also happened in numerous other societies where there was no particular group that we know of that was associated with the same rituals, but you see the same rituals all over the world, all throughout history. And the key thing is, which group is seeking to rule over others and have access to their children. Once you see that, it doesn't matter whether you're talking about Faust, it doesn't matter whether you're talking about Carthage, it doesn't matter whether you're talking about the Jews who were abusing Christian children in Italy, and they'll lie about it and say, "Oh, that's just a blood libel." No, it's absolutely true. It's literally documented in the Italian court records. There's no question about this at all. Okay, doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that everybody of that ethnic heritage is involved. Of course not. Anyone of any heritage, of any cultural religion, is capable of taking that ticket. All right? It doesn't matter if you're English or American Indian or German or Arab or Jewish descent. The offer is always the same. Different people and different cultures are caught up in that web to different degrees, of course, because the more people from a group that take the ticket, that submit to the God of the world, of this world, and who engage in these wicked practices, are going to have obviously a effect on their own culture, on their own society, and so forth. That's obvious. But the key is, and the secret is, that the one thing that they can't stand is the name of Jesus Christ. So that's your clue. Whether you're a Christian or not, and I'm not telling you, I'm not preaching the gospel here. Not tonight anyhow. But whether you are a Christian or not, you can discern the wicked from the level of their antipathy for Jesus Christ and for Christians. And also another indication is the whole globalist versus nationalism. Why? Because the whole purpose of the wicked is to unite the world and enslave it. And so everything that they do is focused towards globalist rule. Now, it's going to fail. We know it's going to fail. Why? Because the nations will always exist. Nations are people. People are never going to be a perfect melange of perfectly equally divided DNA. Never going to happen. There will always be nations because there will always be people. And so that whole objective is an ultimately futile one. But you can still see the patterns. And so to get back to our subject, Netflix, Disney, these are the missionary elements of the hellmouth. And I know how difficult it is, to convince your kids not to, watch every Disney movie or whatever, because Disney used to be a good thing. Disney used to be a relatively positive thing, but it was converged. It was taken over by the wicked, and now it is it is almost certainly one of the most wicked public organizations that we know of. And so it's very important not to support it. And Netflix is arguably, it's the evil little kid brother of the devil mouse. And both of these things, of course, are completely propped up by debt money. Neither of them are actually capable of surviving on their own. They're completely propped up. Disney has something like 50, as of last year, Disney has $54 billion in debt. And now they're trying to push things like Disney Plus on you. They're trying to push the new streaming channels on you and all this sort of stuff. I don't care what they have. People say, "Oh, well, I just have it because because my parents like to watch. I just have it, for the kids. It's like, no, don't support it. Don't serve their cause.